Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here, and today we're changing things up a little bit. Today we're going to be talking about some off-season speculation, some rumors potentially going around. Today we are going to be talking mostly about Fnatic. Obviously, after they have now been eliminated from the 2022 World Championships, it is now off-season time for them. We'll have to see what the future has in store, but this Instagram post from Razork could give us some insight into at least some of the potential options for Fnatic are going forward. No is finished videos today. Obviously, Rogue was able to pull off the 1-3 yesterday, which was enough to get out of groups. They're going to be the 2 seed. We'll have to find out today who exactly they're going to be playing up against in the quarterfinals. I think at this point, fans are not really anticipating that matchup very much. I'm sure the expectation is that Rogue will likely be getting 3-0'd, but hopefully they can surprise us. Hopefully they can have an interesting and exciting matchup. But yeah, overall, EU goes, 1-9 in week 2 after NA goes 0-9 in week 1. It's a rough time to be a Western fan. So we're all looking ahead to the offseason. But here's what Razork had to say in a recent Instagram post. Now, I do say here that this is translated from Spanish. He posted this in Spanish. This is Google translated. So some of this might not be exactly correct. Some of this may be a little bit mistranslated, a little bit misworded, whatever. But let's see what he had to say about, his year or whatever as a whole now that the year's over. He said, well, here ends my first year in Fnatic. The truth is that it has been a difficult year for me, both personally and professionally. Obviously, we don't necessarily know what it means personally, but obviously on the professional side, we saw, and a lot of times those personal issues can come over into the professional performance as well. I do wonder how much that affected him on the Rift or during their season or whatever. So, maybe there's a chance to cut him some slack there. But I think from the fans' perspective, it was very, very clear that he was having some struggles. Towards the end of the year and in Summer Split and into the playoffs and at points during Worlds, Razork actually looked pretty good. He actually looked more like the jungler that Fnatic was expecting to get. But throughout a lot of the spring split, he was really, really struggling. He was not playing at all like he was in 2021, especially in the latter half of 2021. So people kind of figured that something was going on. People had said in videos, it doesn't look like he's totally enjoying it at Fnatic. Doesn't look like he's having a good time. He would tweet out sad stuff a lot of the times, sad emojis, sad quotes, vague posts, stuff like that. So it's not totally shocking to hear, but it is interesting for him to actually be saying this as well. This was a tough year for him. But despite everything, I've always kept fighting and tried to do the best I could. To this day, I am a little sad because I feel like I could have done much better. But that does not remove that we should be proud that we've overcome many obstacles this year, from being 1 game away from not entering the playoffs to fall eliminated in the groups of the World Cup is a big step. Now, yes, that is a big step, but again, obviously, coming into the year, this was much lower expectations than Fnatic as an org and Fnatic fans had. Yes, when you look at like week 8 in the regular season, there's a chance they weren't even going to make the playoffs. Yes, obviously, making it to Worlds and winning 2 games at Worlds is cool. It's a cool turnaround very quickly, but that doesn't change, the year when you look back at the perspective still of them barely making playoffs, getting the 3 seed, in most years that'd be the last seed in the LEC, and then going 2-4 in groups, and even losing a game to Brazil in the play-ins. But he does say here's the bomb. I highly doubt that these 5 players will play in the same team again in the future, so I wanted to thank all my team for all these moments they have made me live. I had a great time with all of them, and I'm sure that this year will be unforgettable for the rest of my life. Now, he does say at the top here, this ends my first year in Fnatic, so I don't know if that means he expects to be coming back for his second year in Fnatic, or if that's just kind of his wording or whatever. I tweeted this out. I said, Razork in a recent IG post says, I highly doubt these 5 players will play in the same team again. This is translated from Spanish. It's kind of, blew up. 72 likes for me is really, really good. I have like 2,000 followers on Twitter. So if something gets 72 likes, I'm thinking there must be something that people are interested about. That's why I wanted to make a video. And this isn't totally surprising. I think a lot of people, when they see the year that Fnatic had, expected some roster moves to come. But I think it is interesting to talk about where we expect the roster moves to come and how we expect the roster moves to come. Because I really think it is possible that every single player, like each player individually, if they did not return to Fnatic in 2023, I would not be shocked. Now, each player, obviously, for very, very different reasons, we can kind of go through. You have Wunder in the top lane. He, in some ways, almost seems like the most likely player to stay. But if Fnatic did decide to get someone else, or if Wunder, decided that there was a better offer out there for him elsewhere, I don't really know. I think it's tough to find much better top laners in the West than Wunder. But yeah, if Fnatic just decided they wanted to go another direction, or if Wonder decided he wasn't happy or whatever, I don't know. To me, Wonder leaving would probably be the most shocking or the most surprising, because I don't really see a clear place for him to go that's going to be better. And I mean, unless he goes to like North America or something crazy like that. And I don't really see a reason why Fnatic would necessarily want to kick him. I don't think their struggles this year were because of Wonder. I think he added to the fan base and the brand and stuff in a lot of ways. He wasn't always amazing, but he wasn't like ever consistently terrible or anything like that. You would then have Razork in the jungle. Again, he was good in the summer split and late into 2022, but for a lot of the early 2022 season, he wasn't that strong. I could see if Fnatic wanted to go in a different direction. I could also see if he wanted to leave because he wasn't happy or didn't think Fnatic was the right fit for him. Maybe as a person, maybe it played into some of those personal issues or whatever. But for the jungle position, I actually do think there are some potential clear upgrades. Now, we know that there were some rumors about Elyoya potentially coming to Fnatic in between the spring and summer split, and I don't really expect for that to happen, but it's possible. You know, Mad Lions really showed and proved that they weren't that strong of a team towards the end of the year, so maybe Fnatic could go after Elyoya. Who knows what Mad Lions would do? We know they're a team that has sold off players in the past, even some of their better players. Maybe that's because of financial constraints or issues or whatever. I also think that one of the more interesting moves that I think Fnatic could go for is potentially trying to land Inspired. I know that obviously him and EG had a pretty crazy year together this year, but something tells me that Inspired is going to return back to Europe. We know that Rogue didn't want to sell their players to LEC teams, so we really don't know if Inspired even wanted to go to NA in the first place, or if he just wanted to leave Rogue, or if Rogue was making him leave, or what. But now that he is with Evil Geniuses, they can, sell him wherever they want. Rogue can't stop them from selling him to the LEC or whatever. So if Inspired didn't like NA, or didn't like NA solo queue, or didn't think his team was good enough, or just wants to be back in Europe with his friends and family and his people and all that stuff, it is very, very possible that Inspired could leave EG. At this point, I think it's almost maybe likely that Inspired is going to leave Evil Geniuses, like if you're just telling me to like guess or predict or whatever. And then, where would Inspired end up? I think Fnatic could be a very, very interesting and very, very exciting landing spot for him. In the mid lane, obviously, of Humanoid, there's been so many talks. Humanoid was a beast at end of the season. At Worlds, he really, really stepped up. That was really the best we had seen him all year. But throughout much of 2022, Humanoid was pretty uninspiring, was pretty disappointing. And the same thing there, like, does he want to go to NA? Does Fnatic even want him? But then, of course, the question is going to be, who would Fnatic get? And I think there's some crazy options. I think Fnatic could always go after somebody like Bjergsen. I think Fnatic could potentially be in talks with Perks and try to set up something there. I also think Fnatic could potentially go after VTO as well. It just depends what Fnatic and Humanoid are going to want. But again, if Humanoid wasn't on Fnatic in 2023, I wouldn't be like totally shocked. I would not be super, super shocked. And then finally, or not finally, we have two more people to talk about. Of course, we have Upset in the bot lane. I think Upset going to G2 would still be very, very interesting. G2 was a better team than Fnatic this year already, and if they got Upset and replaced him with replaced Flockhead for Upset, they would obviously get even stronger. And for Upset, a guy who has done a lot of stuff in his career, he's just wants to win and wants to do well. Maybe leaving Fnatic, where there's been so much drama and controversy, and they haven't been able to win a ton in the past couple of years, and going to G2, maybe that could be something interesting. Maybe that could be something spicy. I just don't know. It depends if he wants to leave Fnatic or not. Obviously, Fnatic is going to try desperately to keep him around, but if Upset does leave, Fnatic would still have options. There would be options like Reckless. There would be options like Hansama. Fnatic could still end up with a very, very good AD carry at the end of the day. And AD carry is the deepest position in Europe. So I think no matter what, Fnatic would be okay. Obviously, I do think Upset is probably the best of the best, and you're not going to get better than him, but is Fnatic in a spot where they're going to try to do like a mini rebuild? Or are they in a spot where they're going to try and double down and really go for like a World's contender next year? I don't know for sure. And then finally, in the support position, you have maybe the most interesting case of all, with Hylissang, who has had such a storied past with Fnatic, but was really not that great this year. Definitely has some champion pool issues. People are questioning, does he even want to play? He looks pretty uninterested. He hasn't looked that good. Upset and Hylissang were maybe one of the best bot lanes in the world in 2021, and that was very, very far from the case in 2022. So is Hylissang, does he even want to come back and play professionally at all? Is he going to retire? If he does want to come back, does Fnatic want him? Is Fnatic going to kick him? If they do get rid of him, is there a great support option out there? I don't know. They could obviously bring up Rux, and Rux looked very, very good in his couple of games at Worlds, but is that like a super exciting option? Other than that, what other support options are even out there that are going to be really, really interesting? I mean, Labrov is going to be available, but that's not like super interesting. I don't know. It's going to be really, really tough. Of course, you have opportunities to talk to guys like Kaiser and stuff like that, maybe try to buy somebody out. But you do honestly have the option of Treats being available as well, who has said that, he is exploring his options for 2023. So like I said, I think there's an interesting case to be made for every single player on Fnatic, but at least from what Razork is hinting, I don't know if he's like leaking or hinting anything here, or if he's just saying like, hey, from my perspective, we're probably making changes. I do think kind of the most called for change at this point as well is to remove Yamato as their head coach, and it'll be interesting to see who they get for there as well. But I don't know, at least from what Razork is saying, it seems like we could be seeing some, if not many, changes to the Fnatic roster in 2023. Very, very interesting year for Fnatic. Pretty disappointing overall. They had some high highs, but I think they had more inconsistent and low lows overall. But we'll have to see what the future has in store. Fnatic, always an interesting team in the offseason, obviously being one of the more popular teams in the West. We'll have to see what they end up going with. And again, if they do decide to rebuild, if they decide to double down on being a legit contender, super team, whatever, I don't know. But that's pretty much it for this video today, guys. Definitely drop a like if you did enjoy it. I would appreciate that so much. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think about anything we talked about in this video today. Subscribe to today and all my latest content. Hopefully catch you guys in the next one. But until then.